Stephen Padilla, Director of Coaching with USBC. I'm here today with Mr. Anthony Simonson, professional bowler. We're going to talk a little bit today about two-handed bowling and the approach that goes along with it. It's pretty unique. It's a different style. We're seeing it a lot more today in a lot of events, youth events especially. We're seeing it a lot at the professional level as well. We're going to learn a little bit about what your game is and maybe what you do. So I want to start by just kind of finding out how you got started with two-handed approach. What was it about it that you liked or that kind of drew you into doing it?
I just started bowling at such a young age. I started at 3. My parents always hang out at the bowling alley. Knew the general manager pretty well and just, hey, go get out of our hair, go bowl. I was told I started bowling one-handed for about 6 months, and then I started with two-handed and just stuck with it ever since.
So from a young age, as soon as you could pick up the ball with both hands, you were kind of ready to go after that one-handed thing. Anything in particular that you remember kind of made you want to go two-handed, or just you wanted to try it?
Probably me just being a kid and wanting to get the ball down there as fast as I can.
Good point. I mean, really one of the advantages is the extra ball speed, and especially the extra rev rate, like you're talking about. At a young age, we see a lot of kids with this technique really wanting to increase their ball speed and their rev rate, and this is the way to get started with it. Now, anything unique or anything different about the way you practice nowadays or the way you approach the game? Because it is a completely different technique and style. There's some benefits and pluses and minuses to it. We'll get into that a little bit later. But is there anything unique that stands out to you that really puts you, what do you feel, above most of the players you see, one-handed traditional versus two-handed? Is there a big variation in the difference in what you do?
I mean, there's some guys that can definitely keep up with rev rate and ball speed. Mm-hmm. But it does give us, I feel like we do have a little bit of advantage being able to overpower some stuff.
Okay.
But that can also come in and backfire on us as well.
Sure. So there's definitely a place where you feel like there's an advantage being two-handed, and there's some places where it could be a disadvantage too.
Also a disadvantage.
When you started the one-handed approach bowling and then you moved to two-handed approach, you were at a young age. Anything you'd recommend for somebody that wants to pick up that technique or that is looking to go to the two-handed approach that really kind of helped you when you got started or that as you developed your technique? What have you done from the beginning of when you started it to now that's kind of made a difference, and maybe you can pass that along to somebody that wants to learn the technique?
If you're going to do it, go all out. Don't do the, well, I'm going to bowl a couple times and bowl two-handed, and then this week I'm going to bowl one-handed. If you're going to do it, stick with it. It's definitely a completely different toll on your body, bowling one-handed to two-handed.
Right.
And just practice. I practice just as much as any other one-hander does, and you got to do it either way.
Yeah, and transitioning, though, from one-handed to two-handed approach, or somebody that wants to learn the two-handed approach for the first time, like you said, you want to get out there and you want to get the practice in and do it. Any specific tips as a two-handed approach player that you really need to look for, or is it just kind of get out there and do it and see how it fits your game?
I mean, just kind of go out there and do it and find something that's comfortable for you that's also pain-free.
Great.
I mean, just you got to be comfortable no matter what.
Everybody's going to be different, and because they're going to be different, you're going to have your own version of that two-handed approach. So when we talk about the two-handed approach, we're going to look at techniques and different ways to approach it that Anthony's been successful with, and also give you some ideas and some tips moving forward as to how maybe you can transition into it and or become better at that particular style. Okay, so let's talk about everything from the beginning to the end with the pre-shot routine. We'll start with a little variation, maybe a difference in what we see with the two-handed approach, just in getting ready to set up. Now, when you're getting ready, just like anybody else, you're going to have a series of things you go through to get yourself prepared. It's going to be picking up the ball, wiping off, doing some things that are just getting you mentally and physically ready to go. What may be a little different about your particular two-handed approach that's different in the pre-shot routine that may not be in the traditional one-handed approach?
Different for me is I have to dry off both hands. Most everybody else only has to keep one, so the hand dryer is definitely a big key at bowling centers when I go. Just same thing every time.
Yep. So let's take a look at it. So give us an example. Pick up the ball for us. Show us what you do here. And you can dry off the right hand, obviously, and then switch the ball. It's going to go right up to the left hand. Now, it takes a little extra time, but not really a whole lot overall to get started. But this is definitely important for you because having both hands on the ball, you want to have the same feel, the same comfortable grip each time you get out there on the approach. So a great setup in the pre-shot routine. Anything else different that's unique to your particular style, or is it pretty much the same?
It's pretty much the same.
From this point, you're on the approach and you're ready to go, right? Okay, so let's go take a look at what it looks like to get on the approach and go through the two-handed approach. Okay, so let's talk about the two-handed approach, and we've gone through the pre-shot routine. We're going to step up on the approach now, Anthony. Just kind of walk us through getting from that position into the setup, and let's see what it looks like here. What do you do when you're getting ready to set up on the approach?
As I go to set up, I just find where I want to stand, get my fingers in there, lay my hand across my thumb hole / weight hole, and just kind of get my left hand into a comfortable position.
Okay, so in this position, which is your stance, we got a couple of things that are real similar to traditional one-handed style already, but there's one thing really that's kind of different. The similarities are that your posture is slightly forward, your knees are going to stay flexed, your feet are going to have some separation at the bottom of in your stance, so you're going to have a lot of the same balance points. There's not a lot of difference. But when you set up, show me that setup again. Put your hand in the ball for me. You're going to set up without your thumb in the ball, you said, right? You're going to cover that hole you've got on the ball there. Show me what the opposite hand looks like when you set up, though. So the opposite hand is going to be slightly out in front, and it's going to cover more of the front side of the ball, not be underneath it so much, on the bottom of it. Now, any particular place that you want to put this, left or right or front and back when you set up?
No, it's just kind of the same spot every time, and just let my right hand do what I need to do.
Okay, so you get the right hand comfortable, and then the opposite hand doesn't have a particular place. You're not trying to really set it in one particular spot. If you need to do something different with the ball motion, are you even going to try and adjust it then, or is it pretty much the same place every time?
It's going to stay the same place every time, and I'm just going to make right hand adjustments, and where I start and then where I finish at the line as well.
Okay, so right hand adjustments then. So you may adjust your hand to the side or underneath the ball slightly to change it a little bit? Okay, so a variation of that, and that may change where the opposite hand goes for balance, but overall, just the opposite hand being in a position that's going to help you get started is going to be how you get set up. And there's not going to be a lot of change in variation where that's going to go other than what your right hand does. So not a lot of variation when it comes to the overall mechanics. Some difference we see in the opposite hand position in the two-handed approach. So when you start or when you're working with somebody maybe to learn that style, be aware of where that opposite hand is. Make sure it's there in the same place each and every time. As he moves through the approach, we're going to see some variation in his posture. We're also going to see some changes in his footwork. In the setup, once again, we said everything is a little bit more traditional, with the opposite hand being the only difference. Once the ball gets into the start, his posture is going to lean forward. He's going to follow that arm swing as the opposite arm stays with the ball. So he's going to lean forward with his posture, and the opposite hand stays with the ball into the downswing and the top of the backswing. And as that pulls his posture forward, it changes his balance point. He gets more forward. His feet have to move faster to help support that extra tempo he's got going through there. So his footwork's going to pick up and get a lot quicker, which is going to give him better ball speed to match his higher rev rate. So as he gets into his approach and the posture goes forward, the feet are going to move quicker. He's going to get the backswing or the height of his backswing, which is not as high as a traditional one-handed player, only about as high as his shoulders. And as he continues into his downswing in the approach, his posture is going to be almost parallel with the approach whenever he gets to the step before his slide, or that slight quick step that he's got before his slide. And then in that last step, his posture is going to raise up slightly as his arm swing comes down, both arms come down, and both hands get to the bottom of the approach. His hand's going to be in a great position to be underneath the ball and create a lot more rev rate. Well, probably 20% more rev rate than we see in most traditional one-handed professional players. So we see two big differences, the posture change and the footwork tempo, to go along and complement what happens with a hand position, which is a higher rev rate on that hand position at the bottom of the swing. When Anthony finishes this swing, the ball comes through, his opposite hand comes away, the ball comes through. Now he's going to finish, his posture is going to come up slightly, he's going to post his shot by once again balancing himself on his opposite foot or his left foot. And he's going to follow through with his bowling hand and his bowling arm, just as you do with a traditional one-handed approach, right toward the pins and as the ball goes down the lane. So, two big differences. Obviously, posture, footwork are going to really work well to accommodate the ball speed needed to match that higher rev rate in a two-handed approach. Okay, so the myth of the two-handed approach player is that they deliver the ball with both hands, and that's not true. What we see here in the high-speed video is that when a two-handed approach player comes to the bottom of their swing, the opposite hand, in this case Anthony's left hand, comes off the ball before the ball is delivered onto the lane. So it's actually a two-handed approach with a one-handed delivery. Anthony's got the ability to not only throw two-handed, but he's actually a one-handed approach as well. And the differences in his one- and two-handed approach are going to be obviously the posture difference when his body's going through the approach, and the footwork difference in the tempo, how fast or slow he goes. It's all going to come to the end of a hand position difference because his opposite hand's not there. But his one-handed approach still has a lot of the same characteristics as his two-handed. His balance is still over each of the steps as he takes it. His tempo is going to be a little bit slower from start to finish. And his arm swing and direction are going to be in line or straighter and his backswing is going to be higher. And because he's got these pieces in his one-handed approach, he can actually deliver the ball very straight. And if he goes to his two-handed approach, he can actually hook it with a lot more rev rate and a lot more ball speed. So his traditional one-handed approach has some of the essence of what he does two-handed, but it's definitely a different version of what the ball's going to look like on the lane, as well as what he's going to look like in the finished position. It's going to have less rev rate. It's going to be straighter down the lane. And a lot of times he may use this for his spare shot. So the one-handed approach versus the two-handed approach may be able to come into play for different types of lane conditions and or spares versus strike shots.